In this lecture, we will talk about superconductors. First, I will describe Meson effect. Then I will explain type 1 and type 2 superconductors. Then I will describe BCS theory. Then I will explain Josephson junction. Finally, I will explain high temperature superconductivity. For any metal, resistance becomes 0 at 0 Kelvin. For superconductors, resistance will be 0 at a temperature above 0 Kelvin. In the graph, you can see how the resistance of a superconductor varies with temperature. Here temperature is given in Kelvin. The resistance becomes 0 at one particular temperature. That temperature is Tc, that is called critical temperature. A bulk superconductor in a weak magnetic field behaves as a diamagnetic material. If we put a diamagnetic material in a magnetic field, the magnetization will be in the opposite direction of the applied field. So the magnetization of a diamagnetic material is negative. Then I will explain Meson effect. First, we will consider a ball placed in an upward vertical wind flow. If we put a ball with holes in the wind flow, then the wind can pass through the holes and the ball will fall down due to the gravity. If we put a ball without hole in the upward wind flow, then the wind flow can hold the ball against the gravity. Then the ball will not fall down. That is called the levitation. We can see the same phenomena for a material. If we put a material in the normal state in a magnetic field, then the magnetic field line can penetrate the material. So the material will fall down due to the gravity. Here the magnetic field is applied in upward direction. When the temperature is larger than Tc, it is in normal state. When the temperature is less than Tc, it is a superconducting material. If we put a superconductor in a vertical magnetic field, then the magnetic field can hold the superconductor against the gravity. So the superconductor will not fall down due to the gravity. That is called the magnetic levitation of superconductors. This effect of superconductor is called the Meson effect. There are two types of superconductors. First, we will talk about type 1 superconductors. If we put a type 1 superconductor in a large magnetic field, then the magnetic field lines can penetrate the superconductor. So the large magnetic field can destroy superconductivity. So in the diagram you can see a material in the normal state. The magnetic field can penetrate the material in the normal state when the temperature is larger than Tc. When the temperature is less than Tc, it is in the superconducting state. However, if we apply a large magnetic field, then the magnetic field lines can penetrate the superconductor. So the magnetic levitation cannot be observed in this case. The superconductor will fall down due to the gravity. The minimum magnetic field required to destroy the superconductivity is called critical field, that is denoted by Hc. Here you can see a graph between the negative value of the magnetization and the applied field. As described previously, superconductors have diamagnetic properties. So the magnetization of a superconductor is negative, because if we put the superconductor in a magnetic field, the magnetization will be in the opposite direction of the applied field. When we increase the applied field, the minus m increases up to some value. Above the critical field, the magnetization will be 0. So below Hc we can see the superconducting state. Above Hc we can see the normal state. Here Hc is the critical field required to destroy the superconductivity of type 1 superconductors. At critical field, the magnetization suddenly drops down to 0. Critical field depends on the temperature as given in this equation. Here Tc is the critical temperature. When the temperature is equal to Tc, the critical field Bc is equal to 0 as given in the equation. When the temperature is equal to 0, the critical field is equal to B naught. So when we increase the temperature, the critical field gradually decreases and it will be 0 at the critical temperature Tc. Here critical temperature is the temperature defined in the first graph of this presentation. Below temperature Tc we have the superconducting materials. Above temperature Tc we have the normal material. In type 2 superconductors there are two critical field. That is the main difference between the type 1 superconductor and type 2 superconductors. In type 1 superconductor we have only one critical field. For type 2 superconductors we can define two critical fields. When the field is very small, we can see the superconducting properties. So the magnetic field can hold the superconductor. We can see the magnetic levitation as given in the first diagram here. Here these arrows show the magnetic field. When the magnetic field is higher than Hc1 and less than Hc2, we can see the vertex state. In the vertex state, the magnetic field lines can penetrate some part of the superconductor, but the magnetic field lines cannot penetrate some parts of the superconductor. So we can see a mixture of the normal state and the superconducting state, that is called the vertex state. Here we can see some tubes. Those tubes are called vertices. Magnetic field can penetrate the material through the vertices. Because the magnetic field can penetrate the material through these tubes, the tubes are not in superconducting state. The blue part of the second diagram is in the superconducting state. So the magnetic field lines cannot penetrate the blue part of the second diagram. If the magnetic field is larger than Hc2, then the magnetic field can destroy the superconductivity completely. So the magnetic field lines can penetrate the material will be in the normal state. So there are two critical fields in this case. The first critical field is Hc1, the second critical field is Hc2. When the field is larger than Hc1, we can see a vertex state. When the field is larger than Hc2, the material will become a normal material. In the previous slide, you can see two critical fields for type 2 superconductors. When field is Hc1, the field lines start to penetrate the material. When field is larger than Hc2, field completely destroys superconductivity. When field lines penetrate some parts of the material, it is called vertex state. The tubes given in second diagram are called vertices. Here you can see how the negative value of the magnetization varies with applied field. Here M is the magnetization. Superconductor is a diamagnetic material, so the minus M gradually increases with applied field up to Hc1. Then the minus M decreases with applied field up to Hc2. Above Hc2, minus M will be 0. So here we can see the superconducting state below Hc1. Between Hc1 and Hc2 we can see vertex state. Above Hc2 we can see the normal state as given in slide number 8. Here you can see some properties of type 2 superconductors. Type 2 superconductors are normally alloys or transition metals. They have high resistivity at normal state. There is a vertex state. A solenoid wound around type 2 superconductors produce a high magnetic field of about 100 kGauss for temperature less than Tc and the magnetic field less than Hc1. Then we will talk about BCS theory. BCS theory was found by 3 scientists, Bardeen, Cooper and Schrieffer. Here we can see the first letter of each name. That is called BCS theory. There are pair of electrons in superconductors. Those are called Cooper pairs. Cooper pair is a pair of spin up and spin down electrons. An attractive force between electrons can lead to a ground state separated from excited state by an energy gap. When temperature is less than Tc, Cooper pair occupies ground state. When we increase the temperature, one electron in pair jumps to excited state. Then we will have a normal material. Energy gap is the minimum energy required to break a Cooper pair. Here you can see energy level diagrams of superconductors and normal material. Below temperature Tc we have a superconductor. In the superconductor we have Cooper pairs in the ground state. The energy level at the bottom is called ground state. Energy level at the top is called the excited state. Here the blue circles and black circles show spin up and spin down electrons. The gap between the excited state and ground state is called energy gap, Eg. When we increase the temperature, some of the electrons in the pair can jump to excited state. So now we can see blue circles in the excited state and the black circles in the ground state. So we don't have Cooper pairs any longer at temperatures above Tc. Then the material will become a normal material. Energy gap of a superconductors varies as given here. Energy gap gradually decreases with temperature. So finally the energy gap will be 0 at temperature Tc. Tc is the critical temperature. So below Tc we have superconducting material, above Tc we have a normal material. Energy gap depends on critical temperature. According to equation Eg is approximately equal to 3.53 K times Tc. Here Tc is the critical temperature, K is the Boltzmann constant. In the next slide I will explain you how to measure the energy gap. We can use this circuit to measure the energy gap of a superconductor. We have an insulator sandwiched between superconductor and a normal metal. We connect two wires to superconductor and the normal metal. Then we connect those wires to a power supply. It is a variable power supply or a battery. When we change the voltage, the current through the circuit changes. So we can measure the current through the circuit at different voltages. Here the circle at the bottom shows the voltmeter used to measure the voltage. In addition to the voltmeter, we have to use an ammeter to measure the electric current. If we change the applied voltage and measure the current in the previous circuit, then we can see this kind of graph. When we decrease the applied voltage, the current gradually decreases, then it will suddenly drops to 0. So the voltage will be V threshold at the 0 current. We can measure this threshold voltage. We can measure the threshold voltage using the circuit given in the previous diagram. Then we can calculate the energy gap using the equation V threshold equals Eg over 2E. Here E is the charge of one electron. And the second point of the BCS theory is given here. The electron lattice electron interaction leads to an energy gap. Normally there is a repulsive force between electrons. Electron lattice interaction creates attractive force. In the next slide I will explain you the attraction between the two electrons. In this diagram, the red circles show electrons, the blue circles show the positive ions. At the beginning, the positive ions are on the solid lines. The electron in the right hand side is moving first in the right hand direction. The electron in the right hand side can exert some attractive forces on the positive ions. So the positive ions will move toward the electron in the right hand side. Then we can see the positive ions on the dashed line given here. So the positive ions will come closer to the electron in the right hand side due to the attractive forces. Then the second electron is coming. The positive ions are now closer to the second electron. So these positive ions can exert a stronger attractive force on the second electron. The blue arrows on the second electron in the left hand side show the attractive forces between the electron and the positive ions. As a result, there will be a net force on the electron on the left hand side as given by the black arrow. That is the attractive force between the two electrons given here. So this attractive force can make the Cooper pair. Normally there are repulsive forces between electrons, but due to this lattice deformation, there is an attractive force between the two electrons. So these two electrons can make a Cooper pair. Here the black arrow shows the attractive force between two electrons. The third point of BCS theory is given here. The penetration depth and the coherence length appear as natural consequences of the BCS theory. If you put a superconductor in a magnetic field, the magnetic field will be zero inside the superconductor. But the magnetic field gradually decreases and becomes zero in a superconductor. The magnetic field inside the superconductor varies as B equals B naught exponential of minus x over lambda L. Here B naught is the applied magnetic field. Here you can see that the magnetic field B gradually decreases with the distance x. Here the distance x is measured inside the superconductor. The separation between two electrons is called coherence length. Lambda L is called the penetration depth of a superconductor. Here you can see another point of BCS theory. When DEF is the electron density of orbital at the Fermi level, U is the electron lattice interaction, and theta is the Debye temperature. The critical temperature Tc is given by Tc equals 1.14 times theta times exponential of minus 1 over U d. Another important property of BCS theory is given here. Magnetic flux through a superconducting ring is quantized as phi equals 2 phi h cross c times s over q. Here phi is the magnetic flux, h cross is equal to h over 2 phi, h is the Planck's constant, c is the speed of light, q is equal to minus 2 times e. Capital S is an integer, so phi is quantized because S is an integer. Then I will explain Josephson junction. Even if there is not any applied voltage, DC current can flow from one superconductor to another superconductor through an insulator. If we sandwich an insulator between two superconductors, this current is called supercurrent. This is called DC Josephson effect. When a DC voltage is applied to this junction, AC current will flow from one superconductor to the other superconductor. This is called the AC Josephson effect. Here you can see a picture of a Josephson junction. Then we will talk about high temperature superconductors. Superconductors with higher critical temperatures are called high temperature superconductors. Most of them are metallic oxides. They have very high upper critical magnetic fields greater than 100 Tesla. Highest TC value obtained so far is around 138 Kelvin. This is liquid nitrogen temperature. Here you can see some examples of high TC superconductors. Cu2O layers in these materials is the origin of high TC property. If there are more Cu2O layers, then the critical temperature becomes higher. You can see few examples like cuprates, bismuth, strontium, calcium copper oxide, yttrium, barium copper oxide. They have multilayered perovskite structures with oxygen deficiencies. Cooper pairs can easily move in the direction parallel to Cu2O layers. So resistance in direction parallel to Cu2O layers is low and resistance perpendicular to Cu2O layers is high. Explaining the properties of high temperature superconductors is a great challenge to theoreticians. High TC superconductors are used in energy generation and transport and magnetic levitation for high speed transportation. These new copper oxides exhibit two characteristic properties such as zero resistivity and diamagnetism. I have explained the diamagnetism in the previous slides. In addition, they are known to have some properties as given in the next slide. They are type 2 superconductors with very high upper critical fields above 100 Tesla. Because of their ceramic nature, they have unfortunate mechanical problem of being brittle and inflexible. So it is difficult to make wires of these materials to carry electricity. Substitution of atoms on the copper oxide layers degrades or destroys superconductivity, while atomic substitution at other sites has little effect on the superconductivity. Then I will explain the mechanism of high TC superconductivity. The energy gap is given by 3.53 times K times Tc according to BCS theory as described previously. The flux is quantized as given in slide number 23. The discontinuity in the specific heat at Tc or critical temperature is similar to that predicted by the BCS model.